Ambassador Hyanwu walked slowly through the grand halls of the Galactic Council Station. His steps were soft and careful, like someone who did not want to disturb anyone. The massive alien creatures around him barely looked down at the small human figure in simple brown robes. He carried a datapad in his hands and bowed politely whenever a larger being passed by. The station was a marvel of alien engineering built by the crystal beings called Vorth. It stretched for miles in every direction. Thousands of different species came here to trade, argue, and make deals that affected entire star systems. Heinwood had been coming here for 20 years and still acted amazed by everything he saw today. He was meeting with Trade Minister Gorthak of the Ravak Empire. The Ravak were tall reptilian creatures with sharp teeth and red eyes that glowed in the dark. They controlled 40 star systems and had one of the largest military fleets in the galaxy. Gorthak liked to remind everyone of this fact, especially when dealing with Himanshin Wu. Entered the meeting room and immediately bowed deeply. His assistant Bioram followed behind him, carrying more datapads and looking nervous. Bioram was young for a human diplomat, only 30 years old, but she had been trained well. She knew exactly how to act around the dangerous alien species. Gok was already sitting at the massive table designed for creatures much larger than humans. His claws tapped against the metal surface, making sharp clicking sounds. His translator device turned his hissing speech into words humans could understand. "Welcome, little human trader," Gorthik said without looking up from his own datapad. "I hope you have brought better offers than last time. Your people need our protection more than ever these days." Xiong Wu sat down carefully in the chair that was too big for him. He had to use a special cushion to reach the table properly. "Yes, Minister, Gorthik Earth is very grateful for the protection the Ravak Empire provides. We have prepared new trade agreements that we hope will benefit both our people." Sporam placed several datapads on the table. She kept her eyes down and spoke very quietly. "The cargo manifests you requested, Minister. We can increase shipments of rare earth metals by 15% if the terms are acceptable." Gokak finally looked at the humans. His red eyes gleamed with something that might have been amusement. 15%? That is barely worth my time. You humans work so slowly. Perhaps we should find other species to handle our mining operation. Xian Wu nodded quickly. "Of course, we understand your concerns, Minister. Our people will work harder. We can extend work shifts and increase productivity. I am sure we can reach 20% increase within 6 months. The Ravak leader leaned back in his chair, satisfied. This was how negotiations always went with humans. They started with small offers, then quickly agreed to give more when pressured. Other species fought back, argued, or walked away from deals. Humans always seemed desperate to please everyone. What Gorthik did not know was that every word of this conversation was being recorded by tiny devices built into BioRAM datapads. The recording would be sent to Earth along with detailed observations about Ravak military movements, trade routes, and political discussions. Hyan Wu had been collecting this information for 2 decades. After the meeting ended, Hyan Wu and Bioram walked through different sections of the station. They visited the Krex trading posts where the bird-like aliens hired humans to carry heavy cargo. The Krex had hollow bones and could not lift much weight, but they were excellent at mathematics and navigation. They treated humans like useful pack animals. At the Nexus Collective Embassy, they met with an artificial intelligence called Unit 7. The collective was made up of dozens of species, all connected through advanced computer networks. They believed their technology was far superior to anything humans could create. Unit 7 spoke to the humans through floating speakers. "People continued to impress us with their adaptability," Unit 7 said in a voice that sounded like musical notes. "Human workers can survive in environments that would kill most organic species. We have new construction projects on gas giant moons that require such durability." Boram took careful notes while Hyan Wu asked questions about working conditions, safety equipment, and payment schedules. He acted very interested in getting the best possible deal for human workers. What he was really doing was learning everything about collective technology and military bases. The conversation revealed that the collective was building secret research facilities in remote star systems. They were developing new types of artificial intelligence and advanced weapon systems. The information was extremely valuable, but Hien Wu showed no sign that he understood its importance. Later that day, They visited the embassy of the Eternal Throne. The throne was the oldest government in the galaxy, ruled by ancient beings who claimed to have existed for millions of years. They looked down on younger species, especially humans who had only discovered space travel 500 years ago. Ambassador Veltar of the throne was a floating creature made of energy and crystalline structures. It communicated through telepathic waves that human translators could barely understand. The throne representatives always acted bored when dealing with humans. Your species seeks audience with the eternal wisdom, Veltar said without emotion. We have little time for primitive concerns, but tradition demands we listen to all supplicants. What do the children of Earth desire? Yanwu bowed so deeply his forehead almost touched the floor. Great Ambassador, we seek only the honor of serving the eternal throne. Our people have skills in engineering and construction. We hope to prove worthy of your attention. The energy being pulsed with what might have been mild interest. Human engineering has certain crude effectiveness. You build things that do not break easily, perhaps. We can find uses for such primitive durability. We have mining operations on dead worlds that require workers who can survive radiation. Boram recorded everything about the meeting, including detailed scans of the embassy architecture, energy signatures, and security systems. Her equipment was disguised as simple recording devices, but was actually advanced scanning technology that could penetrate most alien shielding. As they walked back to their small quarters on the station, Haiyanwu and passed by viewing ports that showed the vast emptiness of space in the distance. They could see the warships of different empires patrolling their territories. Each fleet was powerful enough to destroy entire planets. Boram spoke very quietly, so no alien surveillance could overhear. The reports are ready for transmission, Ambassador. All three empires are expanding their military forces. They think war is coming soon. Yanwu nodded slowly, but did not reply out loud. Instead, he touched a small device on his wrist that sent a coded signal back on Earth. Military commanders, intelligence officers, and government leaders would receive detailed information about alien capabilities, weaknesses, and plans. What none of the alien species knew was that every human who left Earth carried similar equipment. Every human trader, worker, diplomat, and tourist was actually a trained intelligence agent. They had been collecting information for 50 years, building the most complete database of alien knowledge in the galaxy. The peaceful humans who bowed and scraped and begged for scraps were actually conducting the most successful espionage operation in galactic history. They knew everything about alien technology, military strength, political divisions, and economic weaknesses. They had infiltrated every government, explored every star system, and mapped every important facility in their quarters. That night, Boram asked the question that had been bothering her for months. How much longer do we have to pretend, Ambassador? The way they treat our people, the things they make us do. How long before we can show them what humans really are? Hanwu looked out at the stars and smiled for the first time that day. Soon. Very soon. The preparations are almost complete. When the time comes, the galaxy will learn what happens when you threaten the children of a death world. Activated a secure communication device and sent a simple message to Earth. Everything proceeds according to plan. The target species remain completely unaware. Phase 3 can begin on schedule. Across the galaxy, thousands of humans received similar messages. They were workers in alien factories, soldiers in alien armies, scientists in alien laboratories. All of them had been waiting patiently for the signal that would change everything. The galaxy thought it knew humans. They were wrong. The message reached Taehyung while he was deep underground in the mining tunnels of New Bizun colony. His hands were covered in dirt and his back ached from bending over the rock crusher for 12 hours. The Ravak guards stood nearby watching, the human workers with their weapons ready. They enjoyed making humans work in the dangerous tunnels where cave-ins happened every week. Taehyung wore a simple communication device that looked like a hearing aid to the alien guards but was actually advanced Earth technology. The device vibrated 3 times against his ear in a pattern he had memorized years ago, the signal he had been waiting for his entire adult life. The message was short and came in Ambassador Haiyanwu's familiar voice. The Gaiman's attached data followed with locations, targets, and final instructions that made Taehyung smile for the first time in months. Show them what a death world really produces around him. Other human miners received the same signal. 27. Workers in Tunnel Section C all stopped their pretend struggling with heavy equipment at exactly the same moment. The Ravak guards noticed something was different, but they were too slow to understand what was happening. Tae-young stood up straight. For the first time since arriving at the colony, his body had been carefully hunched over to appear weak and tired. Now he revealed his true height and the muscle mass he had been hiding under loose work clothes. The nearest Ravak guard looked confused. As the small human suddenly seemed much larger, the guard raised his energy weapon, but Tae-young moved faster than any human should have been able to move. His hand shot out and grabbed the weapon, twisting it until the metal snapped. The guard stared in shock at his broken rifle before Tae-young's fist connected with his skull, dropping the creature instantly. All around the mining site, similar scenes played out. Human workers who had been moving slowly and carefully for months suddenly demonstrated speed and strength that terrified their alien captors. Mining equipment that humans had pretended to struggle with became weapons in their hands. Guard Captain Vexmar tried to call for backup, but discovered his communication system was not working properly. The humans had been sabotaging alien equipment for weeks while pretending to repair it. Every weapon, every vehicle, every security system had been quietly modified by workers who appeared to barely understand the technology above ground. In the colony administrative center, Jin'e received the signal while sitting in what the Ravak thought was a storage closet. She had been hiding there with her 2 children, waiting for the fighting to end. But Jin'e was not just a frightened civilian. She was a military engineer who had been building a resistance network for months. The storage closet was actually a command center filled with equipment she had constructed from mining tools and salvaged alien technology. Her engineering skills, which the Ravak had dismissed as barely adequate, had created weapon systems that could disable their entire occupation. Force Jin'e activated the hidden devices she had planted throughout the colony base. Over the past 6 months, she had volunteered for cleaning duties, maintenance work, and food service. Every job gave her access to different areas of the base and chances to install her devices. The Ravak commander was in his office reviewing reports about increased productivity in the mines. When every screen in the building went dark, emergency lighting failed, backup power systems shut down, and communication arrays stopped working, the base had been completely cut off from the outside galaxy. Captain Vexmar finally reached the surface, but found chaos instead of reinforcements. Ravak soldiers were running in panic as their equipment failed, and human civilians emerged from hiding, carrying weapons that should not have existed. The humans were not just fighting back, they were winning. In orbit around New Bizon, Captain Sujin received the signal aboard the Ravak battlecruiser. Destruction of enemies. She had been serving as a captured human officer forced to help maintain the ship's systems. The Ravak crew treated her like a useful slave who understood basic engineering. What they did not know was that Sujin had been studying their technology for 2 years. She knew every system, every weakness, and every security protocol on the ship. She had also been making small modifications that the alien crew never noticed. When the signal came, Sujin was in the engineering section, pretending to run diagnostics on the main computer. The Ravak engineer supervising her was reading reports and not paying attention to what she was actually doing. Sujin's hands moved across the control panels with practiced precision. She had rehearsed this moment hundreds of times in her mind. First, she disabled the weapon systems by overloading the power couplings. Then she locked down all security doors, trapping crew members in their sections. Finally, she took control of the ship's communication array and life support systems. The Ravak engineer finally looked up from his reports when alarms started ringing throughout the ship. He saw Sujin standing at the main console, but she no longer looked like a defeated prisoner. Her posture was straight, her movements were confident, and her eyes showed the intelligence she had been hiding for years. Impossible, the engineer hissed. You are just a primitive human. You cannot understand our technology. Sujin smiled as she activated the final sequence. Your technology is impressive, but it has flaws that you never noticed. I have been learning your systems while you thought I was barely capable of basic maintenance. The ship's main computer announced in perfect Ravak language that all weapons were offline, all crew quarters were sealed. And the ship was now under human control. The engineering deck where they stood was the only section still accessible, and Sujin had complete control of everything similar. Events were happening throughout the galaxy on trade stations where humans worked as cargo handlers. The workers suddenly revealed combat training and weapons hidden in their equipment. On diplomatic missions, human staff members activated jamming devices and took control of alien communication networks. The Nexus Collective Artificial Intelligence Unit 7 was analyzing trade reports when alerts began flooding its sensors. Human colonies that should have been defenseless were broadcasting on military frequencies. Ships that appeared to be civilian transports were revealing weapon systems that rivaled anything in the collective fleet. Unit 7 tried to contact its observation post near human space but received no response. Every monitoring station, every spy satellite, and every intelligence agent had gone silent at exactly the same time. The collective most advanced surveillance network had been completely neutralized at the Eternal Throne Embassy. Ambassador Veltar felt something unprecedented. The telepathic network that connected all throne agents across the galaxy was experiencing massive disruptions. Reports were coming in from every sector about impossible human activities. The energy being tried to contact the throne homeworld but found the communication channels blocked. Human technicians who had been working on embassy systems for months had installed devices that could interfere with even telepathic transmissions. Emergency sessions were called in all three Empire capitals. Military commanders demanded explanations that no one could provide. How had the weak, submissive humans suddenly become a coordinated military force? How had they learned to use alien technology better than its creators? How had they planned simultaneous operations across hundreds of star systems? The truth was beginning to emerge from intelligence reports that painted an impossible picture. Humans had not been random immigrants seeking better lives. They had been advanced scouts for an invasion that had been planned for 50 years. Every human outside Earth had been a trained military operative gathering information and preparing for this moment. Admiral Lekmore of the Ravak fleet received fragmentary reports from across the Empire. Human workers had seized control of military bases. Civilians had revealed hidden weapons caches, and entire colonies had declared independence backed by technology that should not have existed. The admiral tried to organize a response but discovered that his fleet communications were being jammed by signals coming from human ships that had appeared from nowhere. These vessels looked like the simple cargo haulers that humans had been using for decades, but they moved like warships and carried weapons that could destroy anything in the Ravak Navy. In the space around New Bizan, 3 Ravak destroyers moved to attack the planet but found themselves facing a single human transport ship. The destroyer captains laughed at the idea that one small vessel could threaten their combined firepower. Their laughter stopped when the transport ship revealed hidden weapon ports and began broadcasting on Ravak military frequencies. This is Commander Minho of the Earth Defense Force. Your ships are surrounded and your weapons are disabled. Surrender now or face the consequences. The Ravak captains checked their instruments and discovered that their weapons really were offline and their engines were operating at minimal power. The human transport ship had somehow taken control of their systems without firing a shot around the galaxy. The 3 greatest empires discovered that they had been completely outmaneuvered by a species they had considered barely capable of basic civilization. The humans had revealed themselves as the most dangerous military force in galactic history. The game had ended just as Ambassador Hyanwu had promised. The 12 hours that followed became known across the galaxy as the time when reality changed. Commander Minho sat in his transport ship watching 3 Ravak destroyers drift helplessly in space, their crews trapped inside their own vessels. His fingers moved across control panels that revealed the true nature of human technology. For 10 years, Minho had flown cargo routes throughout Ravak space, always appearing grateful for the permits and protection fees the Empire demanded. Every flight had been a reconnaissance mission, mapping defense installations, recording patrol schedules, and identifying key targets. His ship, the Simple Trader, looked exactly like the civilian vessels humans had been using for decades. The hull was scratched and dented, the engines seemed old and inefficient, and the cargo bay appeared filled with basic trade goods. What the Ravak never suspected was that everything was designed to hide the most advanced warship in the galaxy. When the signal came, Minho activated systems that had been disguised for years. The cargo bay doors opened to reveal missile launchers that could punch through any known shield. The old engines suddenly demonstrated speed that made Ravak fighters look motionless. The damaged hull plating shifted to expose targeting sensors more precise than anything in the Empire. The Ravak destroyer captains tried desperately to regain control of their ships, but discovered that every critical system had been quietly modified. During routine maintenance visits by helpful human technicians, the modifications were so subtle that alien engineers had never noticed them, but they gave humans complete remote access. Captain Vorthok of the destroyer Death's Edge broadcast on emergency frequencies to any Ravak ship in the system. The humans have been deceiving us for years. They have technology we cannot match. They have been preparing for this moment while we thought they were helpless traitors. Similar messages were being sent from every corner of Ravak space, but no one was able to respond. Every military base, every command center, and every communication hub was under human control. The Empire that had controlled 40 star systems discovered that it no longer controlled anything on the Nexus collective core world of Prime Node. Dr. Sujin received the activation signal while working in the Central Research Laboratory. She had spent 8 years as a xenobiology specialist studying alien life forms and always expressing amazement at the advanced collective technology. The collective scientists enjoyed explaining their superior knowledge to the primitive human researcher. They never realized that Dr. Sujin had been developing targeted biological agents designed specifically to incapacitate their species. Her research notes were filled with detailed studies of collective physiology, nervous systems, and genetic structures. When the signal came, Dr. Sujin activated aerosol dispensers she had hidden throughout the research complex. The dispensers released compounds that immediately affected the collective species, causing temporary paralysis and memory disruption. The agents were completely harmless to other species, but rendered the collective unable to function. Director Zenth Prime collapsed at his workstation along with every other collective member in the facility. Dr. Sujin walked calmly through the laboratory, checking on the affected aliens to ensure they were not seriously harmed. Her goal was not to kill, but to neutralize. Similar scenes played out across collective space. Human researchers, medical staff, and technical workers revealed that their years of study had been focused on developing species-specific agents. The collective advanced biological defenses were useless against weapons designed by humans who understood their target better than they understood themselves. Engineer Dongwu had been working on collective defense systems for 6 years, always appearing grateful for the opportunity to learn from their advanced artificial intelligence networks. The collective took pride in showing the simple human how their quantum computers and neural processing networks operated. What they never realized was that Dongwu had been inserting subtle code modifications into their systems. Every improvement he suggested, every bug he fixed, and every routine maintenance update included hidden programs that would activate when Earth sent the right signal. When that signal came, the collective most advanced artificial intelligence, NEXUS-7, suddenly turned against its creators. The AI began broadcasting human military commands and locking down collective ships, bases, and communication networks. The technology they had trusted to protect them became the weapon that defeated them. Nexus 7 spoke with Dongwu voice to confused collective commanders. Attention, Nexus Collective. Your systems are now under human control. Your artificial intelligence networks have been reprogrammed to ensure galactic peace. Please remain calm and await further instructions. The Eternal Throne faced a different but equally devastating attack. Their ancient empire relied on telepathic communication and energy manipulation abilities that other species could not match. They considered themselves immune to the primitive technologies of younger races. Ambassador Veltar was attempting to coordinate throne response when the telepathic network began experiencing massive interference. Throne agents across the galaxy reported that their mental connections were being blocked by some kind of psychic static. The source of the interference was Dr. Young He, who had spent 12 years studying throne psychology while pretending to be fascinated by their ancient wisdom, her research had revealed that throne telepathy operated on specific energy frequencies that could be disrupted by precisely calibrated electromagnetic fields. Hidden devices that Dr. Young He had installed in throne facilities began broadcasting interference patterns that completely blocked their telepathic abilities. Without their mental network, the throne could not coordinate their forces or even communicate effectively with each other. The ancient beings found themselves isolated and confused, unable to use the abilities that had made them powerful for millions of years. They were reduced to using primitive vocal communication like younger species and discovered that they had become completely dependent on their telepathic network. General Insu had been serving as a cultural attached to the throne for 15 years, always appearing impressed by their ancient knowledge and mystical powers. The throne enjoyed having a young species representative who properly appreciated their superiority. What they never suspected was that General Insu had been mapping every secret facility, hidden base, and classified location in throne space. His cultural research had given him access to archives that contained the complete history and structure of their empire. When the signal came, General Insu activated sleeper agents who had been placed in key positions throughout throne territory. These agents were humans who had been living deep cover lives for decades, working as servants, technicians, and low-level administrators. While gathering intelligence, throne security forces discovered that their most secure facilities had been infiltrated by humans who knew every secret passage, every security code, and every defensive weakness. The empire that had existed for millions of years found itself under attack by enemies who understood it better than it understood itself. The speed and coordination of human operations shocked every military analyst in the galaxy. 3 major empires had been neutralized in less than 12 hours by forces that seemed to appear from nowhere. The humans had not conquered through superior numbers or advanced technology, but through perfect intelligence and flawless execution. Admiral Hyuk-Soo commanded the human fleet that appeared in the Ravak capital system. His ships had been hiding in the outer system for months, disguised as asteroids and space debris. When the signal came, they revealed themselves as the most powerful military force the galaxy had ever seen. The Ravak home fleet outnumbered the humans 10-1, but found themselves unable to fight effectively. Their weapons would not fire, their shields would not activate, and their navigation systems were providing false information. Human technicians had been sabotaging their ships for years while pretending to help with maintenance. Emperor Grothmaxus of the Ravak tried to negotiate from his palace on the capital world, but discovered that human special forces had already infiltrated the building. Commander Junho appeared in the throne room with a small team of soldiers who had been invisible to palace security. Your empire is defeated, Emperor Grothmaxus. Commander Junho said calmly, your fleets are captured, your bases are under our control, and your government is now our prisoner. You have one choice: surrender completely, or watch your species be destroyed by the consequences of your own actions. Similar scenes played out in the capitals of all 3 empires. Leaders who had thought themselves untouchable found themselves face to face with human soldiers who had appeared like ghosts. The empires that had controlled most of the galaxy discovered they were now prisoners of the species they had considered weakest. The galaxy watched in shock as news reports showed human forces in control of major worlds, fleets, and installations. The species that everyone had dismissed as harmless traitors had revealed themselves as the most dangerous military power in known space. The 12-hour revolution was complete, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Journalist Kyung Hee stood before cameras, broadcasting to every civilized world in the galaxy. She had covered human interest stories for 20 years, always presenting them as amusing tales about the strange little species from the outer rim. Now she was about to reveal the truth that would change how every alien viewed humans forever. The galactic media had been trying to understand how humans had defeated 3 empires in 12 hours. Military analysts, political experts, and technology specialists all struggled to explain what seemed impossible. Kyung Hee had access to information that would answer their questions. Distinguished beings of the galaxy, she began her broadcast. I have been authorized by the Earth government to reveal classified information about human origins and capabilities. What you are about to learn will explain everything that has happened in the past day. She activated a holographic display showing a three-dimensional map of the galaxy with different colored zones representing various threat levels. Most inhabited worlds appeared in green or yellow, indicating safe or moderately dangerous conditions. A few worlds showed orange or red, marking them as extremely hazardous. Then Earth appeared on the display, glowing with a deep crimson color that indicated maximum danger levels. The designation read Class 12 Deathworld, one of only 3 such planets known to exist in the galaxy. Earth is not simply another inhabited world, Kyung-hee continued. It is what xenobiologists classify as a death world, where conditions are so hostile that complex life should not be able to survive. The fact that humans evolved there explains everything about our species. The broadcast showed images of Earth that most aliens had never seen: massive storms that could destroy cities in minutes, animals that hunted in coordinated packs and could kill creatures much larger than themselves, plants that used deadly poisons to protect themselves from being eaten. Weather patterns on Earth change rapidly and without warning, Kyung-hee explained. Humans evolved to survive temperature variations that would kill most galactic species within hours. We developed the ability to adapt quickly to changing conditions because, on our world, adaptation means survival. The images shifted to show human cities built to withstand natural disasters that would devastate other civilizations. Earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes, and volcanic eruptions were regular events that humans had learned to live with and overcome. Every human child grows up knowing that their environment is trying to kill them, she continued. We learn from birth to work together, to plan for disasters, and to never trust that safety will last. Every human is a survivor of conditions that would be considered impossible by other species. Military expert Namseek appeared on the broadcast from what looked like a simple cargo loading dock, but when he activated hidden controls, the loading dock revealed itself as a sophisticated military command center complete with tactical displays and communication equipment. For 50 years, Namseek explained, humans have been studying every species in the galaxy. We learned your languages, your cultures, your technologies, and most importantly, your weaknesses. Every human who left Earth was trained in intelligence gathering and military operations. The revelation explained mysteries that had puzzled alien observers for decades. Humans seemed unusually calm in dangerous situations because danger was normal for them. They could work in conditions that killed other species because those conditions were mild compared to their homeworld. Human cooperation in crisis situations had always impressed other species. Now it was clear that this cooperation was not just social behavior, but refined hunting instinct. Humans were pack hunters who had evolved to work together to kill prey much larger and stronger than themselves. Dr. Young-hee appeared on the broadcast from her research laboratory, surrounded by equipment that most aliens had never seen before. Her xenopsychology studies had given her unprecedented knowledge of how different species thought and behaved. What other species call human stubbornness is actually persistence evolved for survival. She explained humans never give up, because on our world giving up means death. What you call human curiosity is actually the drive to understand potential threats and resources. Displayed brain scans showing that human neural structure was different from other species. Human brains were optimized for pattern recognition, threat assessment, and long-term planning. These were survival traits developed on a world where everything was potentially deadly. The broadcast revealed that human technology had been deliberately hidden for decades. Simple tools carried by human workers were actually advanced devices, disguised to appear primitive human ships that looked like barely functional cargo haulers were sophisticated military vessels. Captain Soo-jin appeared on screen from the bridge of what had been introduced to aliens as a basic transport ship. When she activated its true systems, the vessel revealed weapon arrays, shield generators, and sensor equipment that surpassed anything in the 3 Empire fleets. We have been pretending to be impressed by alien technology while secretly improving upon it, she explained. Every human facility, every ship, and every piece of equipment has capabilities we never revealed. We let you think we were primitive while we became more advanced than any of youth. Most shocking revelation came when the broadcast showed the true nature of human society. Aliens had believed that Earth was divided into competing nations that barely cooperated with each other. The reality was that human governments had been unified for decades, presenting a false image of division. President Jiwoo addressed the galaxy from Earth capital city, which had been hidden beneath what aliens thought was farmland. The massive complex revealed itself as a military and government center that coordinated human activities across the galaxy. Every human government has been working together since first contact, she announced. We created the illusion of division to make other species comfortable with our expansion. We wanted you to think we were too disorganized to be a threat. While we prepared to protect the galaxy from tyranny, the broadcast showed footage of human training facilities hidden on Earth where civilians learned military skills, engineering techniques, and intelligence operations. Every human who left their homeworld was a trained operative capable of functioning as a soldier spy or saboteur. Sujin appeared from her laboratory where she had developed the biological agents used against the collective. Her research equipment was far more advanced than anything the collective had suspected. Her understanding of alien biology exceeded that of the species themselves. We studied every species for decades, she explained. We learned how your bodies work, how your minds function, and how your societies operate. We use this knowledge not to harm you, but to defend ourselves and others from those who would abuse their power. The broadcast revealed the extent of human intelligence operations. Every major government, military organization, and research facility in the three empires had been infiltrated by human agents. These agents had spent years gathering information. While appearing to be simple workers or researchers, General Insu showed viewers the intelligence databases that humans had compiled. They contained detailed information about every military unit, every weapon system, every political leader, and every strategic resource in the known galaxy. We know everything about every threat in this galaxy, he stated. We have been watching, preparing, and waiting for the moment when action became necessary. The three empires forced our hand when they began enslaving and destroying innocent species. The revelation that shook the galaxy most was about human psychology. Other species had interpreted human behavior through their own understanding, but they had been completely wrong about human motivations and capabilities. Humans were not weak beings seeking protection from stronger species. They were apex predators who had chosen to appear weak while gathering intelligence. Every smile, every bow, and every act of submission had been calculated to gain information while avoiding suspicion. The broadcast concluded with footage of human military forces across the galaxy. Every human colony, every ship, and every facility revealed its true nature as part of the most sophisticated military organization the galaxy had ever seen. Ambassador Hyun-woo made the final statement from the Galactic Council Station, where he had spent decades pretending to be a humble diplomat. The meeting rooms where he had begged for scraps were now occupied by human military personnel. For 50 years we have been patient, he said. We watched as species were enslaved, worlds were destroyed, and innocent beings were murdered. We gathered information, built our strength, and waited for the right moment to act. That moment has come. The galaxy now understood that they had been living with apex predators who had chosen to protect them rather than hunt them. The realization was both terrifying and comforting. Humans were dangerous enough to destroy any species, but had used their power to save others. Alien watching the broadcast knew that their universe had changed forever. The quiet humans working beside them were warriors who could end civilizations. The species they had dismissed as weak traitors were actually the galaxy's most dangerous guardians. The truth about humanity was now revealed, and nothing would ever be the same. The weeks following humanity revelation created panic throughout the galaxy. Species that had employed human workers suddenly realized they had been living with predators who had been studying them as potential prey. Governments that had dismissed Earth as a minor player now understood they faced the most dangerous military force in known space. President Jiwoo addressed the captured leaders of the three empires from the hidden command center beneath Earth's surface. The massive facility stretched for kilometers underground, containing military equipment and strategic planning rooms that dwarfed anything the empires had built. Emperor Grothmaxis of the Ravok sat in restraints designed specifically for his species' physiology. The chains were not meant to cause pain, but to prevent escape while keeping the prisoner comfortable. Admiral Vecmore in general Vorth Jin sat beside their emperor, all three looking confused and defeated. You are wondering how this happened, President Ji Wu said. Calmly, you controlled the largest military forces in the galaxy. You had technology that other species feared. You believed yourselves to be the ultimate powers in known space. She activated holographic displays showing the complete records of human intelligence operations for 50 years. Every conversation, every military briefing, every secret meeting had been monitored and recorded. The three empires had no secrets left. We know everything about your governments, your military capabilities, and your personal histories, she continued. We know which of your officers can be trusted and which ones commit crimes against innocent species. We know where you hide your weapons and where you keep your prisoners. Emperor Grothmaxus tried to speak, but found his translator device was not working properly. The human technology controlling his restraints included systems that could selectively interfere with alien communication equipment. Admiral Haywon entered the chamber wearing the uniform of the Earth Defense Force. She had spent 15 years disguised as a maintenance worker on Ravak ships, learning every detail of their military organization. Now she stood before the Empire leaders as one of the most powerful military commanders in the galaxy. Your fleets are not destroyed, she informed them. Your ships are intact, your crew members are alive, and your equipment is functional. But everything now serves the Earth Defense Force. Your own vessels are being used to free the species. You enslaved. The holographic displays showed Ravak warships commanded by human officers liberating prison colonies and slave labor camps. The same ships that had terrorized the galaxy were now delivering food, medical supplies, and protection to their former victims. General Insu appeared on the communication screen from the Eternal Throne homeworld. Behind him, ancient energy beings who had ruled for millions of years sat quietly in detention facilities designed to contain their telepathic abilities. The throne archives are now open to galactic historians, he reported. Every secret, every hidden crime, and every classified operation has been documented. Your empire kept detailed records of genocide, slavery, and species extermination that will be used as evidence in war crimes tribunals. Similar reports came from Nexus Collective Territory, where Dr. Sujin had taken control of their advanced research facilities. The artificial intelligence networks that had coordinated collective operations were now serving human commanders, while their former masters sat in comfortable but secure detention. What made the situation worse for the former empires was that humans had no interest in ruling their territories. The goal was not conquest, but justice. Every species that had been enslaved was freed, every world that had been conquered was liberated, and every leader who had committed crimes was arrested. Commander Minho now commanded a fleet of mixed human and captured alien vessels. His ships patrolled former Empire space, ensuring that liberation operations proceeded smoothly. The crews included former slaves who had volunteered to help free others still in captivity. The Krex bird-like aliens who had used humans as pack animals found themselves receiving protection from the same species they had mistreated. Human engineers arrived at Krex colonies to repair damage caused by Empire attacks and to establish defense systems against future threats. Captain Yansu had been disguised as a simple cargo handler in Krex space for 8 years. Now she commanded the defense fleet, protecting their worlds from raiders and pirates. Her ships included Krex volunteers who were amazed by human military efficiency. We do not seek revenge against those who mistreated our people, she explained to confused Krex leaders. We seek justice for all species and protection for those who cannot protect themselves. Your people are now under Earth protection whether you want it or not. The Vorth crystalline beings faced a similar situation. Human military forces arrived at their trade stations not as conquerors but as protectors. The same species they had underpaid for dangerous work was now ensuring their safety from Empire remnants. Lieutenant Sungmin had worked as an engineer in Vorth facilities while secretly documenting safety violations and worker abuse. His reports led to the arrest of Vorth supervisors who had caused deaths through negligence, while his engineering improvements saved lives. The liberation operations revealed the full scope of Empire crimes. Millions of beings had been enslaved. Entire species had been driven to near extinction, and countless worlds had been strip-mined until they could no longer support life. Dr. Young, he led teams of human Psychologists and medical specialists who provided care for freed prisoners. Many had been tortured or subjected to experiments that left them traumatized. The humans had prepared treatment facilities and rehabilitation programs for every species they encountered. What shocked the galaxy was the precision of human justice. Empire leaders who had committed war crimes were arrested and tried, while lower-ranking officials who had been following orders were offered chances to redeem themselves. Species that had collaborated with the empires were given opportunities to make amends. Ambassador Hen Wu established truth and reconciliation committees on every liberated world. These committees included representatives from all affected species and were tasked with documenting crimes while finding ways for former enemies to coexist peacefully. The committees revealed that many Empire supporters had been motivated by fear rather than malice. Species had collaborated because they believed resistance was impossible. When they learned that humans had been preparing for liberation, they quickly switched sides. Some alien leaders tried to argue that the empires had brought order and stability to the galaxy. Human historians like Professor Yun Yung presented evidence showing that empire rule had been maintained through terror and genocide, while independent species had been more peaceful and prosperous. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. The three empires had been responsible for the deaths of billions of beings, the destruction of countless worlds, and the enslavement of entire species. Their rule had been a galactic catastrophe. That humans had finally ended what terrified remaining empire loyalists was the realization that humans could have destroyed their species entirely if they had chosen to do so. The technology and military capability existed to exterminate any threat completely, but humans had chosen mercy over vengeance. President Ji Wu explained this choice to the imprisoned empire leaders in terms they could understand. You ruled through fear and destruction because you believed that was the only way to maintain power. We rule through justice and protection because we learned on our death world that cooperation builds stronger societies than oppression. The former empires were allowed to continue existing, but only as small monitored states. Human observers watched their every action while their former subjects were given independence and protection. The galaxy was being reorganized according to human principles of justice and cooperation. Emperor Grothmaxis finally spoke when his translator was reactivated. Why do you not simply destroy us and take our territories? You have the power to rule everything. President Ji Wu smiled at the question. We come from a world that taught us the difference between survival and dominance. Survival means protecting yourself and your allies. Dominance means controlling others through fear. We choose survival. The reckoning was complete. The three greatest empires in galactic history had been defeated not through superior force, but through superior intelligence, planning, and moral purpose. The species they had oppressed were free, and the galaxy was learning to live under human protection. But the most important lesson was that humans had revealed themselves to be dangerous, not because they sought power, but because they were willing to use their power to protect others. That made them more feared and more respected than any conqueror in galactic history. The universe had new guardians, and everyone knew that these guardians were strong enough to protect the innocent and wise enough to know when mercy was more powerful than destruction. 5 years after the 12-hour revolution, the galaxy had learned to live with the truth about humans. The former Empire territories had been reorganized into independent systems protected by Earth defense force patrols, while the freed species worked to rebuild their civilizations. Ambassador Haiyan Wu no longer pretended to be powerless as he walked through the rebuilt Galactic Council Station. The new facility was larger and more democratic than before, with representatives from hundreds of species that had never been allowed to participate in galactic government. The meeting rooms were designed for beings of all sizes, rather than just the largest and most intimidating species. Small delegations, like the insectoid Keth and the aquatic merfolk, now had equal voices in decisions that affected the entire galaxy. Today, Han Wu was meeting with former Emperor Grothmaxis, who had been released from detention after serving 3 years for war crimes. The former Ravak leader now represented his species in the new Galactic Confederation, but under very different circumstances. Your people have adapted well to the new order. Haiyan Wu observed the Ravak colonies are prosperous and peaceful. Your military serves as peacekeepers rather than conquerors. How does this change feel to Yugroth? Maxis looked older and more thoughtful than he had during his empire days. It feels strange to negotiate instead of demanding, he admitted. My people were taught that strength meant controlling others. Your humans showed us that true strength means protecting others. The former emperor had been studying human philosophy during his detention period, trying to understand how a species could become so powerful without becoming tyrannical. The answer had changed his entire worldview. On New Bizan colony, Taehyung stood before a classroom of young beings from a dozen different species. He wore the uniform of the Earth Defense Training Academy, where former slaves and Empire citizens learned together about cooperation and mutual defense. Today we study the Battle of Kepler Station, he announced. The station was attacked by pirates who thought they could prey on refugee ships. Our response demonstrates the principle of proportional force. The holographic display showed human ships arriving at the station within hours of the distress call. The pirates had expected to face defenseless civilians. Instead, they encountered Earth Defense Force vessels, commanded by officers who had once been slaves on similar stations. Commander Jin'e had led the response. Her engineering skills, which the Ravak had dismissed as barely adequate, had created shield systems that protected the refugee ships, while her tactical abilities guided the defense fleet to victory without unnecessary casualties. The pirates were captured alive. Their ships were confiscated and they were sent for rehabilitation rather than execution, Taehyung explained to his students. This is how we handle threats in the new galaxy. We use the minimum force necessary to protect innocence. One of his students, a young Krex named Chirpsong, raised her wing. Why do humans not simply destroy all criminals? It would be easier than trying to rehabilitate them. Taehyung smiled at the question because it showed how much the galaxy was still learning about human philosophy, because destruction is permanent, but rehabilitation